In last week's episode of the Ratliff Mandolin's weekly production diary series, you saw the hardware and strings go on mandolin number 8, which became mandolin serial number 1223. And you watched as I prepared it and packed it for shipping. And this shot is of it leaving the shop on its long journey to its new home in Connecticut. In this week's episode, I'm going to put a traditional tobacco sunburst on mandolin number 3. But first, I'd like to address a comment that was made on last week's episode. And at some point in the video, I said my name is Audie Ratliff and so on and so forth. And the comment was, well, thank you for telling us your name because I was wondering who you were. And I can certainly relate to that. I watch an awful lot of YouTube videos and realize that after I'm done watching them, I'll go, that was great, but I still don't have any idea who the guy was or where he's at or anything about that. So I realize that I'm guilty of the same thing and putting on the same kind of video. So I'd like to take this moment to give you a short biography, and I'll weave in a little bit of company history before we go in here and put the stain on mandolin number 3. First of all, my name is Audie Ratliff. I am the owner of Ratliff Mandolins. We're located in a sleepy little hamlet called Church Hill in the upper northeast corner of Tennessee. Knoxville, which I'm sure you've heard of, is about 90 miles to the southwest of us. And Bristol, which is famous for being the place where the first country music recordings were made back in the 20s, it's about 30 miles in that direction. So, my trusty record book here tells me that I built my first mandolin in the winter of 1981, and less than 2 years later, I had quit all other forms of gainful employment in an effort to become a professional luthier. At first, I worked in a spare bedroom, and then I built a small shop behind the house, about 20 by 12, and within a few years, my father, who was a dobro player and the guy mainly responsible for me being into music in the first place, retired from his regular job, and he wanted to open up a music store, so he and I threw in together, and about a mile out the road here, we opened up a music store / luthier shop. Now that lasted until about 1995. He kept talking about wanting to close the store and retire for good, and I was about out of room out there anyway. So about that time, this building came up for sale, and I was certainly fortunate enough to swing its purchase. Now, when I first moved into this cavernous 2,200 square foot facility, I hired some employees and had employees for the next 6 or 7 years. At my high water mark, the most that I ever had employed here at one time was 7 employees, so we had a pretty good operation going. But I decided that, and I discovered that I really didn't want to be the boss. I just wanted to build mandolins, and so when the last one left in 2001, I guess it was, I never hired anybody else, and so I've been here alone for right at 20 years now. All in all, there's been obviously about 1,225 either mandolas, mandolins, tenor mandolins, or mandocellos, all members of the mandolin family. There's been about 350 lap dulcimers built, one hammered dulcimer that I can remember, 10 or 12 guitars, and 2 or 3 banjos, a couple of fiddles, 1 dobro, 2 of those banjo dobros, 1 electric bass that I still have, and at least 1 upright bass. So over 3 or 4 different shops and 40 different years, there's been quite a few instruments made. You can look me up. I have a website. It's www.ratliffmandolins.com. You can call me on the telephone. The number is area code 423-357-4381. Pretty easy guy to talk to. I don't much like to text. I'm about too old for that, and this is just a flip phone, so don't do you any good to send me videos or pictures. I can't get them on this thing anyway. So that's about it. Maybe you know me a little bit better now. And so, as promised, let's go in here and put stain on mandolin number 3. I have 6 colors that I work with: medium brown, dark brown, yellow, red, orange, and black. The first thing we do with the medium brown stain is hand wipe on one solid coat. And now, after that, with the same medium brown in the same bottle, we will do the initial sunbursting, darkening around the corners and the edges and that sort of thing. Basically what I'm doing right now is putting a little bit of reds and yellows into the browns to kind of bring out the richness of the brown. Now we're just going to touch it up in a place or two. So there you have it. A nice sunburst, beautiful sunburst actually, on mandolin number 3. And now that we have the stain applied, we have to shoot one light clear coat over top of it just to sort of hold that all in and on while we clean off the binding and touch up anything that needs to be fixed. Mandolin number 3, beautiful rich color, very pretty sunburst. Be sure to look for next week's video when we will be putting the strings on mandolin number 2. Mandolin number 2 is the only mandolin in this batch that's going to be offered for sale at a music store. It's going to a music store in Oklahoma City called Rawson Music. Be sure to check back with us next week. You get to watch the whole process, and I will give you all the contact information that you need to call Mr. Rawson at Rawson Music and perhaps purchase this mandolin yourself if you are interested. So thank you so very much for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Please leave us a comment. I really appreciate all the comments that I get, and be sure to check back with us again next week, and we will see you then. Bye.